YouTube Bazico in the Goat House is back. Today we're taking a look ahead just a few weeks here to NFL Week 1. I'm giving you my best bets here. Maybe bets we should jump on now before Vegas changes these lines, because some of these lines are looking pretty good right now, and usually I don't like that many in weeks 1, 2. Usually it takes to weeks 3 or 4 for me to really dive into these and like a lot of lines. But some of these are looking pretty good, almost too good to be true. So we're going to break it down. Excited about it. We'll have full content in season with weekly picks, score predictions for every game, power rankings, and more. Super followers on Twitter will be getting bonus content all year, including best bets every single week of the year. So join us on there. Join us on Twitter. Super follow us. Join us on Titter. Be a good idea. A lot of live talk during games as well. Every game, we got you covered. Here's our Twitter. Link down below. Check it out. But, first game almost seems too good to be true. And week 1 is a little tricky. I think Vegas kind of keeping that in mind. Mysterious things happen sometimes. But some of these lines they're looking pretty good. The Eagles are minus 3.5. Favored by 3.5 against the Detroit Lions. It is in Detroit. It's the interesting thing. I like a lot of away teams. Usually I like the home teams. I like a lot of the away teams heading into week 1. But the Eagles, in a perfect world, maybe minus 3. So you're kind of protected if they win by a field goal. But that really should have no problem against the Lions. They should win by at least a touchdown. And again, don't get me wrong. The Lions could be a much better team this year than they have been in the past. They could get rolling as the season goes on. Why? Because they've been drafting well. They've been adding pretty good young talent. But that takes some time to kind of get going. I think the defense could start off struggling a little bit. Some of that young talent has to develop, progress as the season goes on. I think they'll have a problem with Hurts, especially Hurts running on the outside. Of course, Hurts has to take care of the ball and do a pretty good job in the passing game. He doesn't need to do a great job in the passing game. Okay job. And then continue to run outside. And really, that could really cause problems for the Detroit Lions. And I think the Eagles are just better all in. The better team doesn't always win every week, obviously, especially in week 1. But the Lions can be more of an offense team this year. I think the Eagles' defense fully healthy going into week 1. Brandon Graham back, guys like that, should be able to really slow down that Lions, which I think is still a run-first offense. And the Eagles do a very good job at being a stout run defense. So I just like the matchup for the Eagles. I really do. I thought the Lions were going to get their first win against the Eagles last year, and they just end up being kind of end up being the opposite, ass beating. Not that last year has anything to do with this year, but I think that type of offense can really, really create problems for this young defense. And I think the Eagles' defense will slow down the Lions' offense. So I think that kind of creates separation, and then winning by a touchdown, 10 points, 2 touchdowns up to there. I don't think somebody's bound to get blown out or just dominated in week 1. There's probably going to be an ass beating or two. I don't see too many of them. I'm not really going to predict too many of them in week 1, but I like the Eagles minus 3.5 against the Lions. I'll say the spread has been going down on that one, so it's interesting. I think it'll go back up. The risk at betting now is that, injuries could happen, but we only have one more week of preseason here. That is this week. So I like the Eagles minus 3.5. I like the Jags. I almost like the Jags money line, which is plus 140, because I think the Jacksonville Jaguars could win this game. I think this could be a very sneaky team, and maybe it could be a team that takes a bit to get going, but I like the way they match up against the Commanders. The Commanders are a team that I also think may take a little bit to get going. Carson Wentz kind of getting that groove of that offense, them figuring out their running back situation. Defensively, no Chase Young. That was reported earlier today, missing at least 4 weeks. That's a big piece of their defense. They have potential to be a great defense, but they don't have Chase Young, and they still got to get there. They struggled early on last year. Felt like they were almost a bad defense, which was weird. Then I would consider them average, and then they got pretty good, and they never were as good as we thought they should be. But that's kind of how it went last year. Is it going to be a similar thing this year? Especially with Chase Young out early. The Jags are plus 3.5, and you may feel a lot safer with that because the Jaguars can lose by a field goal in this game against the Commanders, and you still win the bet, obviously. At this given time, who's better, the Commanders or the Jaguars overall? I mean, I'd say it's actually pretty damn close. I would actually argue either side. I think most people would say the Commanders, because not to knock the Commanders, I think the Jaguars can be sneaky decent this year. I shouldn't say good, maybe good, but I think most people would say the Commanders, and they may be right. But in this specific game right now, I'm kind of feeling the Jaguars. They're kind of be a matchup, a game plan problem early on. What are they going to show us with Trevor Lawrence? Which running backs are they going to use? They're going to use both. They're going to get ETN the ball in the passing game on the outside. Are they going to run Lawrence? The defense is unique too. I think they'll blitz a bit. Some unique type players moving Trayvon Walker outside, inside, Devin Lloyd from linebacker to off the edge, blitzing him. They got those unique type players that, a lot of film needs to be out to be able to game plan. That's why every single year weird things happen, and teams that aren't expected to be good are really good early on because they're a tough game plan, especially when there's no film on them. You don't know, the element of surprise. You don't know what's going to happen. The film comes out, everything kind of goes back to normal. It happens every year. People overreact. We're getting off topic, kind of. But I think the Jaguars could win the game. And right now I'd plan on picking them. We'll see who I pick when our weekly picks and score predictions come out. But they're plus 140. I like that money line. If you feel a little safer with that plus 3.5, I think it's a fantastic bet. If they lose the game, I think it's going to be real tight there. So really like the Jaguars at this early stage, looking forward to week 1. The Vikings, who are underdogs, and they are underdogs by 2 points. I see 2 points is kind of pointless to me. If it was 3, that would make sense. It's either, you're out there, if you're agreeing with me, you like the Vikings, go money line. If you don't like the Vikings, don't bet on the game here in this one. I'm not talking about liking the Vikings in general. I'm talking about with the specific game. So I wouldn't really pay attention to the spread. You're better off going with the money line here, unless you prefer to go with the spread because they can lose by 1 point and you still win. But Packers-Vikings should have a decent battle for the division this year. It feels like the Packers are the favorite, rightfully so. I think the Packers are the better team when it's all said and done. This first game in Minnesota, and the Vikings should win this game. I'm actually surprised they're underdog by 2 points. I figured Vegas maybe would think the same thing I'm thinking. What everyone should be thinking is it's just a game plan situation here, which always happens early in the year. There is no film on this Vikings team. The Packers are used to playing the same Vikings team over and over again. Run first, 2 tight end sets, Mike Zimmer defense. It is not the same team at all. You got this more of a high-powered passing attack, less using the tight ends, less running the ball on first down. Perhaps, we don't really know. That's the beauty of it. Defensively, they switched to a 3-4 defense. They're going to get more creative in where they're aligning guys. There's really nothing for the Packers to go off of here. There's no film. There's really nothing to go off of. And it was just they kind of got used to playing the Vikings, and they were still pretty tough. They got them last year when the game that Kirk Cousins did play, and we know the Vikings have talent. Now again, the Packers. I love their defense, and I like their offense as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, even though Devontae Adams isn't there. They'll probably, when it's all said and done, be better than the Vikings. But in this game, the Vikings, to me, because of the reasons I explained, should be favored. The Vikings should win this game. It's more of a big deal to me. I know most people say Packers are better, and I kind of agree with you there. But so they may say it's a bigger deal if the Vikings upset the Packers. I think the opposite. I think it's more of a big deal if the Packers win this game. They're looking more promising. Just for the reasons I explained, the Vikings should win this game. I think it's a game plan problem which exists early in the year when there's no film. So I like the Vikings winning this game, and they are underdogs, which I was actually kind of surprised. I kind of figured this game would be even, or maybe the Vikings be favored by a little bit. Because it really doesn't have to do with who's better in general when it comes to each of these games. Everyone should know that at this point. Bucks are only a -1 against the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys almost had them, and maybe some would argue should have had them in that first game of the year last year. So they get a rematch here, but the Bucks, to me, I guess debatable. I was going to say they got better, but they have some injuries on the offensive line. But it feels like they kind of get better, getting Godwin back, getting that the secondary back to full strength. A lot of young players like Logan Hall, Joe Tryon, these guys stepping up. Devin White should be better this year. Brady coming out of retirement, I think he could do some special things again. He was in that MVP conversation last year. Russell Gage with Julio Jones as well. They got better. I think the Cowboys got worse, even though they're still a very good team. It's just, no La'el Collins, which we're used to having to start the year. Well, I guess he was suspended last year. Terrence Steele starting at the right tackle spot. No Connor Williams. We'll see how the rookie Tyler Smith does early on. And defense is kind of the big thing here, too, because they ran so much man coverage last year where it got predictable. So we'll see what they do. Do they do their predictable man coverage because they're kind of built for that, in a game like this, or they try to go zone? That could be to throw the Buccaneers off. How effective will they be in it? Some questions with the Cowboys. I'm just going to trust the Buccaneers, Tom Brady, to get the job done, and beat the Cowboys by more than 1. I think a touchdown around that range. It is in Dallas. And that is Sunday Night Football, so that kind of helps that the Cowboys are home in that game. But I'm rolling with the Bucs on that one. Surprising them. I mean, not surprised that the line's low, which is pretty damn low there. And that's been bouncing around from 1 to 1.5. Seen that 2 earlier on. Maybe it'll kind of increase towards that now that Tom Brady was back to starting today, back at practice. So that's why I kind of made this video now. Some of these are interesting right now. Will they be when we get to week 1? And then, I usually don't like the giant lines here, like the big spreads, 5.5. It's pretty big for week 1, but the Broncos versus Seahawks. And I know some of us in the back of our mind could see, Drew Lock and then against his former team, Russell Wilson versus his former team. It's just a week 1 thing to happen. It's an NFL thing to happen that the upset happens, but it just can't. The Broncos are too much better than the Seattle Seahawks, especially what we're seeing from the Seahawks recently. They just look really messy. They want to go with Locke. It's kind of obvious now. He wasn't able to play in the last preseason game. The offensive line is a disaster. I think Charles Cross is going to be a solid tackle, but he could have some struggles early on, but he's not even he might be the strongest part of that offensive line, believe it or not. It's pretty much DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett out there defensively. They got some young pieces, real young corners that I love the draft. I love the draft picks there, especially with those corners, but they could struggle right away for sure. The Broncos could run on the Seahawks. They could definitely throw on the Seahawks in this game, and Russell Wilson's return. And Russell Wilson, you got to. This is the healthiest he's probably going to be all year. If that's every quarterback, if they're playing in week 1, especially talking about a guy that's coming off the injury and longer since he's been injured, this might be the healthiest because he's going to take some hits like every quarterback. So I'm going to roll with the Broncos here. Not just a better team, the far better team, and not pretty much. I'm going through it in my head in every phase. When we talk about Kenny Walker, at first he was probably going to play in this game. Now maybe not. Penny will probably play, but he's been beat up a little bit. I mean, it keeps on stacking on top of each other here. The Broncos got to dominate this game, and that thing in the back of my mind is like, what if Drew Lock beats Russell Wilson? It's just really going away right now just because the difference of these two teams and how fresh the Broncos will be week 1. So that's why I like them 5.5. I mean, they should win. They should win by 14, 17 points. If there's going to be an ass beating, maybe this is the one. But again, bet at your own risk because I'm famous for saying it, I think, every single year. Week 1 is mysterious. Don't base anything off week 1. People always do it. It's mainly because the lack of film and the game plan, but this one just plain and simple. Just go line up and play, and the Broncos should have no problem. In other games I love those games. These ones I kind of like. The Saints were originally, I thought about the bet. I was been thinking about these bets for more than the last few weeks, and the Saints were up there and with the -5 against Atlanta is one I loved. But Atlanta's starting to scare me a little bit. I still like it just because I think the Saints are just, not only are they a much better team, I think they match up extremely well against the Atlanta Falcons because the Falcons I still think could struggle defensively, especially early on. They kind of can get in their groove and kind of get going. But against the Saints, we saw the Saints dominate the Packers, really light up the scoreboard early in that game. Doesn't mean a whole lot. It's last year. This is this year. But the Saints should come out firing against the Falcons, and they should be able to score a good amount of points. It doesn't sound like Kamara's going to be suspended. They have Michael Thomas should be healthy week 1. They have other weapons now as well. Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, Winston, they expect to be healthy week 1. So fully healthy Saints. A lot different than the last time we saw the Saints because they were not even close to fully healthy, and I don't think as talented either. So offensively they'll push the ball. Defensively, that's why the Falcons could be a little tricky, and that's why I don't love this anymore. The Falcons dealing with Mariota, his scrambling, his running ability, the kind of the uniqueness of that running game, and having Pitts to deal with in London, the kind of the taller guys. It's a unique offense, so maybe it could be a little bit of a struggle to deal against them. So that's why the Falcons are maybe a little better than we thought. And they're growing on me a little bit. Not that I think they're going to be good or great or anything like that, but the Saints defense I do trust here. I do like, so I still like the Saints -5. The Falcons showing me some good things, specifically offensively, has me thinking, could that week 1, the unique Falcons, come into play. Maybe they win the game. Sure. I still like the Saints. I like the Titans -5.5 against the Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau likely to miss this game, obviously. It's just tough. It's just tough for the Giants to go play. The Titans are a pretty good regular season team. They seem to be consistently one of the better ones. Will it continue this year? maybe. I don't think far off, if not. Just dealing with Derrick Henry there, and that's one thing. You got to put all your game plan into Derrick Henry. Martindale likes to pass blitz as well, so that kind of throws that off. And then the Titans could start off really throwing the ball on this because the Giants are actually pretty weak at corner. Dory Jackson, former Titan, actually, coincidence, pretty solid. Other than that, they are a little thin, and I know that defense, they'll want to have the safeties in the box as well. So the Titans really have kind of that trump card here where it's like, we got Derrick Henry. Even if you game plan and stack the box, we can still run on you. So game plan, stack the box, and I think we'll be able to throw on you. I like Titans defense a lot. That Titans defense, underrated, really end of the year, very, very strong. Could cause surprise for Daniel Jones. 5.5 is pretty big for week 1. But the Titans are the much better team, and they match up very well as well. So I think the Titans should cover that 5.5. The Raiders plus 3.5. Now it's a little bit of a toss-up on who wins this game, Raiders or Chargers. Probably was leaning Chargers. This morning it sounds like J.C. Jackson, who still has a slight chance to play week 1, will probably be out, and that's kind of that big-time addition. One of the big-time additions there, which is kind of big in a game like this when you're playing Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, guys like that. He might be out, so that's actually a little tough. I think Josh McDaniels with his mentality of pounding the football. The Chargers are still they should have got better stopping the run. How much better? Here we are, week 1. You got to worry about that Josh McDaniels, Josh Jacobs, that running game, but you also got to be on your toes with that passing game without J.C. Jackson. That makes it interesting. And the Chargers are good enough still to win this game, despite what the matchup says, because Justin Herbert and company could light up this Raiders defense. And then the Raiders defense will rely a little bit too much on their edge rush, which it could have a day in this one, but the Chargers offense, focus on attacking that right tackle spot. So Sean Slater could lock things down there, but he is playing a pretty good group. So, as I'm explaining it, it just sounds like this could be the game of the week. It's a hell of a game. I think it could go either way. I'm a little less confident with Chargers. I'm picking against them. I don't know who I'm picking this game, but the plus 3.5, the fact that it is above 3 right now, and now that J.C. Jackson got hurt, it could start to go down. I could even see it get to even, maybe even flip. So for all those reasons, the plus 3.5 of the Ravens looking pretty good. The more I'm talking about, the more I like that one even more, the plus 3.5. So we'll see. And then a pretty big line. I usually stay away from these lines, especially in week 1, or mainly in week 1. But the Ravens minus 6.5 against the Jets. It should be Joe Flacco, and you're thinking, what if Joe Flacco goes beats the Ravens? I just don't think the Jets are ready for this. Ready for Lamar Jackson, ready just for a much better team here in the Baltimore Ravens, dealing with everything that they have on both sides of the ball. I think the Jets are a team that could continue to grow and get better as the year goes on. So the Ravens should win. It's cutting it close, and that's why I don't love it, but should win by at least 7 points, but should be in that 10-point range, 13 around there. So when I was talking about the Raiders one, I can almost talk myself in anything. Talking about the game plan, or the matchup, I should say. The lack of game plan is the problem when it comes to week 1, even week 2, sometimes even week 3, and why weird, mysterious things happen. And people think, all right, the Panthers started 3-0, they're the best team in football. No, let it all settle. Let the film. Now, we use an example from last year, by the way. Let it all settle. Let the film come out. Let teams get a game plan together. Coaches, and then it's we're kind of back to normal. There's always those surprise teams that stay true through the whole year. But, really enjoyed talking about this stuff here. Really enjoyed this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. We're always talking with you guys on Twitter. We're always on Twitter there. Super followers will get best bets all year long for NFL and college football. Here on the channel, we'll do score predictions for every game, which in a way kind of tells you which games I like, weekly picks and power rankings and a lot more. So subscribe, turn notifications on. Much appreciated. And then, make sure you don't miss a thing, because we got you covered for the NFL season. We're excited here. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.